Today we're going to go game by game, matchup by matchup, and give you a must start for each game, and then look at the rest of the players in that matchup, predict how that game's going to flow, and talk about the rest of the players in that matchup so you can get an idea what to do with your lineups this week. And I know a lot of you guys got a lot of questions, so drop your questions in the comments below. I'll answer them later tonight. I'll get back with you. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Stop missing out. Plus, we're helping you out with the waivers every week. Every day almost. Going deep on the waiver wire. We're helping you set lineups. We're helping you win your trades. And I want to be a big resource when it comes to your research for your drafts next year. And if you don't click that button, you may not find the channel next year when you're trying to do your research. But we're going to look at 12 must-start players. We're going to go matchup by matchup, and we're going to do that right now. And the first game we're going to be looking at today for Week 12 is the Saints at the Falcons, 41.5 over/under. And I think this makes sense with what Vegas is telling us here. We have a tight spread. We have a 41.5 over/under, which is a smaller implied point total. They're saying, hey, this might be a lower scoring game. We can see the Falcons run off some clock. We can see both defenses put in some work. Really hard to project starters, so you're going to have to keep it cheesy here. And who's more cheesy than Alvin Kamara? 16.7 touches per game, 17 targets in those games with a 16.8% target share. Chris Olave, too. He's getting deep balls. He's getting target share. He's getting opportunity. And when we talk about run backs, we're going to talk about the other team compared to that must-start player. Bijan Robinson, he's getting workload. He's getting opportunities. Beside that headache game and that one other game earlier in the season, he's been pretty solid. He's going to get those opportunities. And then Drake London as well. I look for this to be a little bit of a lower scoring game. I think we'll still get some fantasy contributors. I think Alvin Kamara is pretty safe. Chris Olave, you know he's always going to get target share. The Falcons players, a little bit of a head scratcher. But that's nothing new. We know this. We got a good idea what's going to go on here, I think. I think we might get something out of Rashid Shaheed. Maybe we'll see some deep balls. If he brings one or two in, we might get a splash performance. Chris Olave, Kamara, Bijan, Drake London. Can we get some Kyle Pitts action? Who knows? But we're rolling on to the Patriots at the New York Giants. 33.5 over/under. That's low. That's tragically low. And the spread's tight, too. This is going to be nasty. This is going to be ugly. That's what Vegas is saying. It could break because we got two ugly teams. That's the thing about ugly teams is they can kick this can down the road and just break the game script. Either way, it could be a low-scoring Jeff Fisher-style game, or they can break it. And that's not me being wishy-washy. I know I say that every video, but I'm trying to go over ways of how it can break, and these are two ugly teams. But the Patriots have been ugly. They've been rolling over. We know about the Giants here. Saquon Barkley, keep it easy here for the must-start player. 22.5 touches per game, 110 yards from scrimmage per game over his last 4. He's also being used in the passing game. When you look at the Patriots players on the run back, Ramondre Stevenson getting some touches as of late, getting some workload. Again, if you want a cheap running back, maybe they get close to the goal line. Maybe you want to look at Ezekiel Elliott as a hope and prayer. Demario Douglas getting around a 20% target share. They're short targets, but he is getting volume. Something to look at. You're not really trusting anybody in this matchup besides Saquon Barkley. When it comes to the wide receivers on the Giants, you're not trusting him. You're not trusting many of the wide receivers on the Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson's going to get some workload, but you're not 100% trusting him either. But a lot of people's going to have to start him. That's just how the cookie is crumbled for Week 12. But again, nasty matchup. I hope you don't have to play many players from this game. Carolina Panthers at the Tennessee Titans. 36.5 over/under. Vegas is saying this one's going to be ugly too. Kind of agree. But I think we're going to have a little bit more firepower here. But Vegas is saying we're going to get a little bit more firepower as well. The Panthers have been ugly. The Titans have been ugly. It might be ugly. But can Will Levis push the ball downfield? Will they let him? His ADOT has been slipping as of late. He's not pushing it downfield as much compared to that first outing when he went off. We got a tight spread. Rookie on rookie quarterback violence here. That being said, Derrick Henry, because last 4 games he's averaging 17.3 touches per game, 11 fantasy points per game, and the Panthers are allowing 27.7 points per game to running backs in PPR. Tony Pollard went off the week prior on them. Run backs, I don't have much for you because it's hard to trust players on both these teams. Adam Thielen is going to soak up targets, and I don't think the matchup matters there. Also, DeAndre Hopkins seeing deep targets as well. We want Will Levis to push the football downfield. We want him to go YOLO. We need that to happen more for him to get these wide receivers involved. I understand that's chaotic for him because he's a rookie, but I don't care about his development. I care about fantasy points, and that's what you care too. And that will happen if he pushes it downfield. But this is a smash spot for Derrick Henry. They need to smash him up the gut, give him a lot of carries, let him run all over Carolina. Steelers at the Bengals here, 35.5 over under. Horrible trend to start off this video with games with this low of a point total from Vegas. The spread's tight too. Again, the quarterback play is very sus on both sides of the ball. You're having a hard time trusting a lot of these players. Deontay Johnson, over his last 4 games, seen a 30.2% target share. Almost 9 targets per game. You can throw on the Bengals a little bit. You can throw on the Steelers a little bit. But can these quarterbacks throw on these defenses? George Pickens, he gets some ADOT. He gets those splash plays here and there. You're also looking at him. You're looking at the running backs. You're looking at Warren. The thing is, this is going to be a weird game because of the quarterback play for the Bengals. But the run backs here, you're never not going to start Jamar Chase. You're never not going to bench him, so you're starting him. Joe Mixon, great matchup here. He's going to get opportunities, and they're probably going to rely on him more. T. Higgins is out, so more targets should be funneled to Jamar Chase. Look for that to happen. I'm not really looking at any of the ancillary wide receivers, Boyd or anybody really, due to the quarterback play, but it could happen. It could splash. I could see that happening. It is a divisional game still. That could happen. Ward, Najee, look for them to get some opportunities. I look for this game to be a mess. It's a divisional rivalry. These teams, when they play each other, even when everybody's healthy, it's a mess and things can get out of hand. But again, Deontay Johnson, 30% target share. It's hard to roll against that. We're looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road to the Indianapolis Colts with a 44.5 over-under, which isn't really that high, really, in point total land. But still, Vegas is saying we might get some points scored in this matchup. Tight spread. You want to throw the ball on the Buccaneers. So that could open things up in this game. And we have Gardner Minshew here who can throw some YOLO balls. Tampa Bay is going to allow something to Michael Pittman here, who's getting 11 targets a game. 37.5% target share, which is elite. Look for him to be an easy start. I don't see anybody benching him unless you got an elite wide receiver core. Josh Downs, I'm looking at you, kid. I'm looking at you. I need you to start blowing up here. We're picking you back up off waivers. A lot of people dropped you. Josh Downs should be getting right. The run backs for Tampa Bay, the ball's concentrated to these 3 players. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rachaad White. And you start them every week. Mike Evans, air yard city. Chris Godwin, consistent volume. Rachaad White gets used in the passing game a lot. And you know where the ball's going with both these teams. You know Jonathan Taylor's getting touches. I'm not going to forget about him. I know he's not mentioned there, pictured below. But Jonathan Taylor, too. He can always take it to the house. But you don't want to run on this team. But you can also use Jonathan Taylor in the flat. And you know what? He's got that speed to where he can burn the defense on any given play and have that big run. So don't forget about him either. You're not benching him. You're not. So you're starting him too. Jaguars at the Texans, 47.5 over under. I want to say this is going to be a sneaky matchup. But considering we saw all these low over-unders in a row, I look for people to stack some Texans and then run it back with some Jaguars and DFS. I look for this game to be used heavily in tournaments because the Texans are flashy right now, and you're going to want to do so Also, Noah Brown's out in this contest, so pick your poison between Tank Dell and Nico Collins. And both of them are probably going to hit because this is going to be a pass funnel matchup. It's easier to throw on the Jaguars than to run on them, but they're not super easy either. They're just middle of the pack of the league when it comes to fantasy production of wide receivers. Run backs here, your usual guys. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Travis Etienne. You're playing those guys. Calvin Ridley had his get-right game last week. He's going to be up and down. This offense has been up and down this season. Christian Kirk's been kind of steady, and Travis Etienne's been getting a huge opportunity share this season. Now we're looking at the Rams at the Cardinals, 45 over-under. Vegas saying, hey, we're going to get some scoring. We think the spread's going to be tighter than what you think. I think Kyler Murray's going to do some things. Vegas is saying that. They're saying Kyler Murray's going to keep it tight. But looking at this, Kyren Williams might have his get-right game, his comeback from injury here, because he went off earlier in the season, over 150 yards against the Cardinals. And the Cardinals are third worst in the league when it comes to allowing fantasy points to running backs, 26.8 per game. And they are consistent when it comes to allowing yards to running backs. So that is something you want to see when you're getting Kyren Williams back in your lineup. If you're going to start Kyren Williams at all for the rest of the season, it's this week, and I can understand why you feel a little tepid about that. Prior to the injury, though, 18.5 PPR points per game, RB4, 18.3 touches per game. We talked about him every week last year. Did not fire until this year. That means something. Puka Dog's coming out. Puka Nacua going to be getting some opportunities too. When the running backs don't hit against the Cardinals, the wide receivers do. They have not been in many tight matchups where they held the other team down in fantasy points. If Kyren Williams doesn't hit, we're going to get a little bit of extra catch-up on that Puka Dog when it comes to fantasy scoring. So be looking for that. Run backs, James Conner, Marquise Brown. Easy guys to run it back with in DFS and in fantasy. You might be picking and choosing for your lineups with those two, just so you know, depending on how deep your roster is at either running back or wide receiver. Look at Rondale Moore. Maybe he'll get some targets in this matchup, considering he's getting those short to intermediate targets and some volume. But overall, you're going to see a sneaky matchup here when it comes to fantasy scoring. Browns at the Broncos. This is a game you don't want to touch. This is a game that could be very ugly. You can run it a little bit on the Browns in patches. You can run it on the Broncos. The Browns defense is tough. Tough on both sides, passing and rushing though. But the Broncos, you can run on them, you can move the football on them. So let's talk about the Broncos side. Javonte Williams might slip past the Browns on a few series. He might get some opportunities. That could possibly happen. He should be getting some workload. I'd be handing it off to him a good bit in this matchup. There's also a good chance the Broncos get up in this game if the Browns experience foul play at the quarterback position. That could happen. That could allow the Broncos to be up. So that's something you may want to look at Javonte Williams. I do not see him as a must-start. I don't have anybody as a must-start in this game. That's the one thing I want to point out. So if you're not listening to me talk and you're just looking through the pictures, you're probably getting burned. You should be watching the video anyway, so that's on you. But still, Javonte Williams getting 22.7 touches per game, 15.7 fantasy points per game in his last three. Say he gets you a 10 spot and gets you by. Also, Cortland Sutton, deep ball city. He can reel in one of those in any matchup. Run backs, Pierre Strong's a must start. I'd be starting him. I think he'll get some opportunities in this game. I think he's good to go. Think about him. Think about Kareem Hunt as well. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is getting a lot more targets now, pushing around 20% target share. Shouldn't be on waivers. I don't trust either of those two wide receivers. But if you need a wide receiver getting targets in your lineup, both of them are getting targeted. You can run on the Broncos. I like Pierre Strong the best out of this matchup. Javonte Williams should be getting touches. Cortland Sutton, deep ball city. Jerry Jeudy, I don't trust. But maybe this game script can break open if we experience bad play at the quarterback position for the Browns. Bills at the Eagles, 48.5 over under. A spread of 3. A tight spread. This is the game where everybody's going to create lineups around the DFS, daily fantasy for DraftKings FanDuel, and you're looking to move up players up your board into your lineup here as a tiebreaker for some of your lineup decisions. Due to this matchup, I would too, because it's going to be very explosive. You're starting your Bills, you're starting your Eagles, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. That being said, Stephon Diggs, easy. You start him in matchups like this. You start him in every matchup. Same with Gabe Davis. The ball's going to be flying in this matchup. It's going to be in the air. We're going to see air yards. He's going to cook. Speaking of Cook, James Cook, sure, why not? You're going to have some lineup decisions with him. So just take a look at that. See what you need to do. Run backs, we all know it for the Eagles. Pretty much, if you're running routes, seeing snaps, you're starting or you're a push in a lineup decision if you're close in rankings. But run backs, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, DeAndre Swift, you're starting your Bills, you're starting your Eagles, and you're moving on from there. Chiefs at the Raiders, 42.5 over under, 8.5 spread. Chiefs should route this game on the road. We should see that happening. You can run on the Raiders a little bit. So it could be an Isaiah Pacheco game here, considering his last three hasn't been too great. Second game after a bye here. Last three games, though, 15.7 touches per game, 71% opportunity share. So if Kansas City can get a hold of the score here, then get up in this game and use Pacheco a little bit, could be good night here. Pacheco should be scoring. You don't trust any of the wide receivers. Run backs, Devonta Adams, Josh Jacobs, just your basic guys you're looking at. Maybe you're trusting Travis Kelce, maybe not. Probably starting him, though. But thinking of this, the Raiders are 6th worst in the league of allowing fantasy points to running backs, 25.1 per game. Sure, that's going to be sprinkled among the other running backs, but Isaiah Pacheco is going to be in line to see a workload in this matchup. Now we're looking at the Baltimore Ravens at the LA Chargers. Ravens are going to be on the road. Mark Andrews is out, so the Ravens' identity is going to be a little bit different this week on offense. Can't wait to see what happens there. We got a 48 over under. We're creating a lot of stacks with this matchup. We're going to have a lot of tier breakers with this matchup with our rankings and our lineup decisions. That being said, Keenan Allen gets spammed with targets. He's a must start, even in tighter matchups. It doesn't matter because you're getting 12.3 targets per game. Tighter matchups, around 10 to 9. So you're starting him. He's getting a 34.5% target share. Air yards are heavy. Austin Eckler, of course, you're looking at him. Run backs for the Ravens are pretty interesting here. Zay Flowers, of course. OBJ's been hitting these last few weeks. He's getting a 13.5% ADOT. He's getting targets deep downfield. Gus Edwards, good matchup for him. Keaton Mitchell, can he hit that home run? Can he hit that ball over the fence? That's what you're hoping for. Does he get used more in the passing game? I would be doing that, Baltimore. I would be getting him the flat. I'd be using him in some screens. I would play around with him. I would mess around with him in a few series. I would dump it off to him here and there. See what you got in this dude. See what you can do with him. You got yourself a fire-powered running back who can score on any given play. Mess around with him. Let's see what can happen. But again, you're going to want to start a lot of players from this matchup. Bears at the Vikings, 43 over under. We got a tight spread. This one could go off the chain. This one could go nuts. Justin Fields wants to prove himself. DJ Moore seeing a lot of targets here. You can throw in the Vikings. That could push the game script a bit. That could push Dobbs into moving the football. The Vikings running at a fast pace. This could be an interesting game script here for fantasy production. DJ Moore, though, last 4 games is seeing 7.3 targets per game and a 24.8% target share. Almost a 25% target share. 12.1 PPR points per game. Run backs for the Vikings. Your studs. Alexander Madison. He's getting a lot of workload. TJ Hawkinson, because, of course, one of the top tight ends in the league. You're going to start him. And Jordan Addison. And then we're watching Justin Jefferson. Been limited in practice. Doubtful, though. I doubt it, but just pay attention to the news. We covered every game on the slate from Sunday to Monday. We're watching these players. We're starting the top guys. We're starting the must-start players. We're playing around with the jabronis and everything else. Don't forget to drop your questions in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching you. Do not make him upset again. Hit that subscribe button. But I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.